Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. How great to see you here. I trust you enjoyed my last video on the Chicks, or formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, and we looked at love coming from the most unexpected of places. It's not always the most beautiful person in the room. So I trust you found that one encouraging. Well, we're going on from there to an absolute jazz legend today. The story started in 1917 in Chiro, South Carolina. John Burks Gillespie was born. He was the youngest of 9, and his father was a local band leader. And because of that, Dizzy Gillespie, who we're talking about today, was exposed to a lot of instruments. Unfortunately, his dad did die when Dizzy turned the age of 10, but by the age of 12, he had learned trombone and trumpet self-taught. So that's pretty amazing right there. This guy was an absolute child prodigy. He was a genius, and he had a pretty stellar career because he was a band leader, trumpet player, multi-instrumentalist actually, educator, and just well and truly made his mark on American jazz music, world jazz music. So it's good to give this guy a bit of a go today. Early on, he received a scholarship to the iconic Larry Bird Institute, and he then turned professional around 1935, including 1939 in Cab Calloway's band. So a little while ago I did Cab Calloway and Many of the Moocher, which is of course one of his most iconic songs. Of course, Dizzy would have played that song as well. But the two didn't really get on that much. It's called classic case of the world isn't big enough for the two of them. And Cab didn't appreciate the humour, and also he had adventurous soloing. And so Dizzy thought, well, I'm going to get off and do my own thing. But before that, he joined the iconic Earl Hines band. And Earl Hines is considered one of the greatest piano players of all time. And so he certainly learned his chops there. But it wasn't going to be long before Dizzy went out on his own, because he had this particular style, he had this particular way of doing things, and he wanted to bring his own style of music to the world. And it was then through bebop. Now, bebop was an early style of jazz, and it was because of that that he started to get into all sorts of incredible tonalities, rhythms, and absolutely overwhelmingly intricate solos. This guy is known to the sound of suspense, cliffhanging, surprise, and breakneck solos. And we also talk about his incredible runs and his completely brilliant tonality and complex rhythms. So at the start, he had the Bebop Orchestra, including the Bebop 6. And we've got from the early stage, even though this clip is 1995, one of his early hits, Groovin High. This came off the 1945 album Shem Nuff. We've got a live version of Dizzy going through his paces here. Just look how quick this guy can play. Now, bearing in mind a trumpet only has 3 valves on it, means that your fingers are only doing 3 notes. But so what actually gets your trumpet sound to do all this incredible stuff is your mouth just changing to suit the note that you want. And so, Dizzy had this incredible ability to just do whatever you could on a trumpet, which has only got 3 valves. So pretty amazing. Took a live version of that one below. But the Bebop 6, which he formed about that time, didn't quite take off because they were just so radically different, and people just weren't quite ready for it. You remember Back to the Future and that iconic scene at the end when Michael J. Fox and his character is playing the guitar, and at the end he said, "You guys aren't quite ready for this yet." Exactly the same thing that was going on here with Dizzy Gillespie. But that didn't stop him. It was around the late 1940s period, around that 1947 period, that he started to form big bands. And by this point, he was such a force of nature that people couldn't help but listen to him. So around that era, we've got Salt Peanuts. This is the Dizzy Gillespie Orchestra. He's doing a little bit of singing here as well, because to be a band leader, you just didn't just wave your arms around. You actually did a bit of playing yourself, a bit of conducting, and a bit of singing, and all the sort of stuff that you need to do. Of course, Cab Calloway did that as well, and so Dizzy experienced that type of band leadership as well. We've got Salt and Peanuts here with his orchestra from 1947, live version of that. Wasn't enough for Dizzy Gillespie. After that, he thought, hey, what's happening down south in Cuba and Latin America? I love that kind of beat that's going on there. And so he thought, well, what if we blend this with jazz and we get a really, really iconic sound going? So here we have Dizzy Gillespie again in his absolute iconic, brilliantly breakneck speed runs that he did again. And we've got Manteca, a bit of a jazz standard, absolutely stunningly amazing live version of him there. Move forward to the 1980s, and he was privileged to conduct and be the band leader for the New and Orchestra. Now we got a live version of, again, A Night in Tunesia, pretty much another iconic jazz standard that Dizzy Gillespie brought to the world. So it's great to say right up to then he was actually performing live. So we've got a live version of that one as well. He unfortunately left us in 1993 at the age of 75. Dizzy has received a lot of iconic awards: 1989 Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, 1989 Honorary Doctorate from the iconic Berklee University of Music, Kennedy Center Honors 1990, 1991 the American Academy of Achievement Golden Plate Award, 1993 the Polar Music Prize in Sweden. That probably came after his death. In 2002 he was inducted into the Latin Music Hall of Fame. You note particularly in the first clip that he is playing a trumpet where the bell, instead of going straight ahead, is actually going up at a 45-degree angle. And I think apparently according to an autobiography, that happened because there was an accidental damage to his trumpet and it left it in that shape. And believe it or not, it actually made the trumpet sound better. So Dizzy thought, what the hell, let's just leave it as it is. And I think this is where I want to go today. I had no idea what I was going to do with Dizzy Gillespie's story today. I could have talked about, his multiple reinventions of himself. I talk about playing with heart, because music's played with the heart, not with the mind. I could have talked about a whole heap of things, but I think one of the things I love about his story is this bent trumpet. And it happened by accident. Now, often, when we have an accident, we think, well, we better fix it. We better fix it, get it back to the way it always was. But Dizzy Gillespie blew the thing and thought, hang on a minute, this actually sounds really, really good. How incredible to get have a peace of mind, a state of mind to just consider the what ifs here and think, hey, I'm going to play this thing and see how it sounds. And wow, it sounds great. So he could have just dropped his trumpet into the repair shop and, hey, look, this is a bit of a thing, can't fix it. He may have actually done that, and the repair guy said, nah, not going to happen. Looks like you're... So he could have taken it outside, put it in the rubbish bin, thought, well, that's it. But no, gave it a bit of a blow, and sure enough, it sounded amazing. Now, when you see some of Dizzy Gillespie's clips, he's going up really, 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 really high for a trumpet right here. This is what makes this guy so iconic. So he thought, what if? And the what if became one of his trademarks. And I wonder how often we look at accidents and think, oh, well, that was a bit of a thing. Turning them into our advantage and thinking, well, what can we do with this thing? What can we do with this accident? Because accidents happen. We've got to get learnings out of these accidents, right? We've got to think, well, what can I do about this situation right now? Or what can I do to make the best of it? And that's what Dizzy Gillespie did. So I think we just got to not be so quick to fix things. Let's stay in the mess of what can be a pretty incredible, fortuitous circumstance. And I think with whatever we are around us, obviously if we have a car accident, there's not much we can do about that, particularly if there's another car involved. You really got to get that fixed, and probably going to be two cars that need fixing there. But, other accidents that happen, it might be a favourite thing that's got chipped or a favourite thing that's been bent. Just put the fixing mentality on hold for just a second and see what happens. It could be that our heart has an accident, our heart gets broken, I suppose, and we think, oh man, I just want to get back to where I was before. Well, as in the case of a bent trumpet, it won't go back to the way it was before, but it may actually be better. No, we all often hope and I suppose pray for opportunities for our hearts to grow. When do they grow? When they get broken. And it enables us to think, well, actually my heart's a bit stronger than it was, which is pretty cool. So let's stop being in a hurry to fix things. Sometimes let's just stay in the mess of what's happening. And we owe much to Dizzy Gillespie for bringing this iconic sound to the world. If it wasn't bent, and he stayed with that bent trumpet, mind you, we wouldn't have the iconic status that this guy actually is. So between 1937 and 1992, how long is that career? 94 recordings. Now, pretty well every year there was something going on. If not once, two, sometimes three times a year, he was doing recording. He loved recording, and the studio was his happy place as well as the live place. And because of that, you know, we are staggered by the brilliant output of this guy. And so the world owes a lot to this guy, and so good to see him receiving those awards and acknowledgements that he's received. Polar Music Prize in Sweden. I mean, what's that got to do with American jazz? Well, a lot, because that prize in particular looks all around the world for significant players in the world of music, and to receive that award is pretty cool, all the way over the other side of the world from the United States. So it's good to give this guy a bit of a tribute today. Well, if this is your first time to Life Reflections Through Music, this weird channel that it is, or you've come back for another one, thank you very much for everyone for being here for today. We got a little bit of a jazz, I suppose, trio of artists coming over the next little while. We've got Duke Ellington next time. Of course, you can't not do this series and look at some of these absolute jazz greats. And you don't realise a jazz great is until you come up with them in another story. And when you think of people like Dizzy Gillespie, he's one of the greats really, and your Duke Ellington, Count Basie, it goes on and on and on. So we're going to Duke Ellington next time. So, and oh, by the way, the links to those 4 clips are in the description below, and I've also included my last video as well on the chicks. So if you want to keep on them, just for something completely different, feel free. So that's it for today. We'll catch you around next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.